Solve by completing the square. To solve this equation, we gotta make sure that x squared and x are on one side of the equation, and then the constant gets moved to the other side of the equation. We can do this by adding 20 to both sides, and on the left hand side, the 20s are gonna get canceled out. So we are left with x squared minus 16x, and I'm gonna leave some room because we're gonna have to complete the square. On the right hand side, 0 plus 20 gives us 20, and whatever we do to one side of the equation, we're gonna have to do it to the other. So on the right hand side, I'm also gonna be adding by that quantity. Now to complete the square, we need to grab the coefficient of x. Here that's negative 16. We're going to divide that by 2, and then we're going to multiply it by itself so we can raise it to the second power. On the right hand side, we added the same quantity, negative 16 divided by 2, quantity squared. On the left hand side, we can now factor the perfect square trinomial by getting x, and then adding it to this quantity, the negative 16 divided by 2. So here we're just going to subtract x and 16 over 2, raise that to the second power. On the right hand side, we get 20 plus, and then we're going to simplify this one. So negative 16 divided by 2, that gives us a negative 8, quantity squared. On the left hand side, we can simplify. So we get x minus 8, since 16 divided by 2 is 8. And on the right hand side, we get 20 plus negative 8 raised to the second power. That's negative 8 times negative 8. So let me make that note here. And negative 8 times negative 8 gives us a positive 64. Moving on, we now have x minus 8 quantity squared, and we can add 20 with 64 to get a total of 84. We want to solve for x, but first we got to get rid of the second power, and to do that we can get the square root of both sides, and on the left hand side the square and the square root are going to cancel out, leaving us with x minus 8. On the right hand side, we're going to get a plus or minus square root of 84. 84 doesn't have a perfect square, which means that we're going to have to use the factor tree to simplify the radical expression. So 84 is the same thing as 2 multiplied by 42. 42 is 7 times 6, and 6 is the same thing as 2 times 3. Now that I have all prime factors, I can rewrite the square root of 84 as the square root of 2 times 2 times 3 times 7. Here I have to get the pairs, and the only pair that I can get is going to be the 2's. And let me make some room here with the plus or minus, because for each pair that I get, one of that quantity is going to exit the square root. Next, I'm going to cancel out those pairs. So we end up with x minus 8 equal to plus or minus 2 root, and we're going to multiply the remaining values inside of the square root. 3 times 7 gives us 21. Now to isolate x, we have to get rid of the minus 8, and we do that by adding 8 to both sides of the equation, and my result is going to be x equal to, I'm going to put this value in front. Since it's a positive 8, we can just record it as 8, followed by the plus or minus 2 root 21. This is the exact form, so we are not going to approximate with a decimal here. This is your final answer.